My name is Delilah Eve. I'm one of the Zooby CSRs. I am also the Zooby Affiliate Education Instructor. This video is Session 1, Part 2. The previous video, Session 1, Part 1, goes over how to become an affiliate, the process for approvals, and all the rules associated with that. And then this video, which is Part 2, goes over how to use the website to upload your textures to get your second approval, and then hopefully to sell your items in the Zooby Texture HUD. So let's get started. I am going to be taking you into the website for my own personal store. It's called Whimsical Kids. You're going to be seeing my texture sets, my customer base, and things like that. So I'm going to ask that you please be respectful of the information that you're seeing. I also want to point out that when it comes to downloading kits and things like that, it's going to open up the personal drives on my PC. You are going to see my real life name, which is Regina. But for the purposes of all these videos, you're going to just hear me refer to myself as Delilah. So let's get into the website. When you get your first approval, you will be sent a note card that includes the address, URL, and your username and password. So you're going to go ahead and enter it in. And then when you enter, you should see your brand name here and then your avatar name down here. If any of this is misspelled, please let me know. Sometimes I do make mistakes when I'm creating accounts. Now we are going to go through all of these these links up here, but as a brand new affiliate, the place you're going to want to go first is the Mesh Kits tab. So that's what we're going to look at to start with. So we'll click on Mesh Kits, and then you're going to be brought into this screen. This is a list of all of the mesh kits that are available for purchase that you can design for, and they are categorized just like you see in the HUD. So appearance, hair, accessories, tops, bottoms, full body, etc. When you first come in here, yours are all going to have the word purchase behind all of these because you haven't purchased anything yet. Once you've purchased an item, it's going to change over and it'll say resend. So we are going to start with purchasing items. And let me scroll down here. Just a second, it's a long list. Here we go. And we are going to start with the sleeper. So I already own this sleeper. Oh, here, let's start with the 2-zipper coat because I haven't purchased this one yet. So when you want to purchase it, click on the word purchase itself. Do not click on the name because that's going to take you into a different screen that you don't want yet. So click on purchase. Once you purchase it, or once you come into this screen, it's going to tell you how many Zooby credits you have and how much the kit costs. Kits are 1,000 linden a piece with the exception of skin, and that one's 5,000 linden. If you do not have enough Zooby credits, like I don't right now, you can purchase them on the Zooby Baby Sim, and there's the URL for you right there. When you walk in the front door of the Zooby store, there is a table at the back of the lobby in a picture frame, and that's where you can purchase Z credits, and it is 1 linden for 1 Z credit. Once you have at least 1,000 lindens, a purchase button will show up on this screen. Okay, now I'm going to go back into the mesh kits and do the resend option so that we can get into the screen that you're going to see afterwards and show you everything that happens. So let's go back to mesh kits, and I'm going to scroll down again because this time I do want to go to the sleeper. I'm going to, after you've purchased it and it says resend, then you're able to send yourself the kit again if you need to for whatever reason. But if you click resend, or you click purchase on the other screen, it's going to change over to this screen here. It's going to say that the kit has been sent to you in Second Life, and if we come down in here to Second Life and look at my recent items, you'll see I now have a sleeper kit. You're also going to want to click on this link right here. This is going to download the sleeper kit to your PC, and this is important because it just makes it faster to get the AO maps into your PC itself, and it gives you the OBJ or FBX file that goes along with it. So if you're using Substance Painter, it'll give you the mesh object that you need to import to be able to design on that. So that went into my downloads folder, which for me, I'm on Chrome, which is right up here. Okay, I'm going to come back to this in just a second because right now I'm going to go open my kit in Second Life and I'm going to unpack it and put it away. So here's my recent objects. I'm going to drag this out. It's going to resin like a little pillow pack like we see with everything else Zooby. When I click on it, it's going to allow me to copy it to my inventory. And here's my sleeper kit folder. It's got the mesh. This happens to be a label, tells you which is the left, front, right, back, etc. 2 AO map options and a UV map. I'm going to take this kit and I'm going to take it out of my recent items and I'm going to go put it into my mesh folders for the kids. So I have my whimsical kids folder here, and then I have a mesh kits, and then it's of course foldered by the categories that are available, and I would copy it into the full body folder since this is the sleeper. Now, I'm not going to do that this time because I already have one in here and I don't want a ton of them there. Okay, I'm done with the pillow pack and I can delete it, and then I'm going to come into my downloads folder here and I'm going to open up the sleeper kit and I'm going to put it away too. You're going to hear me talk a lot about organization, and if you ever take any of the other classes that are available, there's a session 2, 3, and 4. They go over basic Photoshop skills, how to cut apart an AO map, some important tools in Photoshop that will make your life easier, how to use a mannequin. There's all kinds of things, and those are for sale in the clothing room on the Zooby Sim. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this folder away. So out of my downloads folder, I'm going to Control X and I'm going to put it into my whimsical designs folder. And it looks just like it does in SL. I have a whimsical kids folder, a mesh kits folder, and then it's all separated again by the same categories, and I'm just going to paste it in here immediately. Now I'm not actually going to paste it. That control is Control V as in Victor, and it will paste the folder for the sleeper in here. Now I've already done that, so I'm not going to do it again, but I would highly recommend you decide on your organization system right up front. Once you've downloaded the kit, and you can also download the display image from here. This is the display image that looks like this that you're going to need to take pictures with. Zooby display image. Here's what it looks like when it first comes off the website. Okay, so that's your display image. That's what that file looks like. You can get it every time you purchase or resend a kit, or you can get it from the top of the mesh kits page. Here's the display image folder, and then here's the mesh clothing poser kit that I talked about in session 1, part 1, that you need to get the arms out of T-pose. Okay, this is the only place that you can get the mesh clothing poser kit. Okay, I'm going to go back into Second Life here for a moment because I want to show you some things in the kit itself. So let's go into my mesh kits. I actually have this down in my education folder to make it easier. So this sleeper mesh, this is the mesh that came in the sleeper kit, and I'm going to go ahead and res this out on the ground. When it reses out, you're going to notice that it is in T-pose. Let's turn this around so we can see it. This is why you need the mesh poser kit, so you can bring those arms down when you're taking a display photo. But this is what it looks like when it's resed out. Yes, it's incredibly tiny. I'm also going to show you that you can dress your mannequins in these as well, but you dress them from a clothing box, just like you do a baby. So if I drag the clothing box out and I click wear, my mannequin happens to be named number 4 here. And so when my list comes up, I can click on this and it will dress the mannequin in the sleeper. So let's get rid of that. This is great for testing on a baby that you can change the poses on. But you don't have to do it this way, but you can also res this mesh out. This mesh item, the sleeper mesh, is also in the folder that you downloaded from the website and saved to your computer. And that's the file that you can bring into something like Substance Painter in order to be able to design in there. So let's go back to the website. So again, purchase our items you do not yet own, resend our items you already own, and you can send yourself the kit again if you need to. That's how you purchase them. If you by chance happen to click on the name of the file, the name of the mesh over here instead of the purchase or resend option, it's going to take you into what's known as a new set screen. Now I'm going to go over that as I go through to all of the screens or all of the links over here. But just remember, if you're stuck and you can't purchase the kit, you've got to click on purchase. We've had that happen several times before. But that's how you purchase mesh kits. Remember, you need 2 different mesh kits and 5 total textures between both of those kits in order to obtain your second approval. Now we're going to start and just go from left to right. The texture sets screen, this is the screen that is a list of all of the textures you have ever uploaded. This edit button here, this allows you to go into a texture and edit some of the features or some of the requirements. What you can edit on this screen is dependent on whether or not that item has sold. I have sold the Solo Cat Ears Pink, so it is locked and I cannot change things like the display HUD image, and I cannot change the UUID for the AO maps themselves. That is to protect parents from purchasing something and then having a creator go in and make a huge change to it. If you need a texture unlocked, please let one of the CSRs know. We can unlock that for you, but we will be asking why you're unlocking it. So edit opens the texture for you to make some changes to. This ID field, this field is internal to the database. Every row in the database needs its own identifier. We may occasionally ask you for this if we're having a hard time finding your texture by name, but for the most part, I don't use this very much. The name field, this is where you're going to name your textures. This is where I want to talk about encouraging you to be very thoughtful about how you name your textures. We have a very difficult time with helping parents find what particular mesh clothing items are being used sometimes because we affiliates can get very creative about what we do. Like we have some affiliates that have taken the sleeper and turned it into a suit or a shirt and a top or something else along those lines. So here's how I name my textures. I'm not saying you are required to use the way that I name mine, but I would encourage you to do very specific things. One, I always put my brand in here. So I'm Whimsical Kids. I shortened it to WK because otherwise things get too long. The next item, or the next name here, is the actual mesh kit that I am designing for. So this was the Solo Cat Ears. This helps parents be able to find what mesh item they need to buy. A lot of parents search the texture HUD just for really cool things to purchase, and they don't necessarily have the texture HUD connected to their baby. In that instance, they don't always know what clothing mesh they need to purchase. So please, please, please put the name of the mesh item into the name of your texture so that parents can easily find that. And then after that, I do the collection name. Not so much with the ears, but like for the kimono, I did a series of silk kimonos, and then it's followed by either the color or pattern name. So like if we look at the kimono down here, this is WK Kimonos, the mesh kit I used. It's the silk collection, and it's floral orange. Okay. If you are a designer that likes to name your items Kimono 1, Kimono 2, Kimono 3, you can do that. I wouldn't recommend you do that, and here's why. So let's look at what I've made for Halloween over the years. If I type Halloween in up here and I click submit, then it's going to give me a list of every one of my texture sets that has the word Halloween in the name. So I have 247 textures that are Halloween themed. Okay? This becomes important because when you get into Second Life and you're opening up the texture HUD, when you're in shop, and I'm not connected to a baby or a mannequin right now, but if I type in Halloween as a search field, then it's going to bring up every texture in the HUD that has the word Halloween in the name, whether that's mine or somebody else's. You can drill this down by using the brands or a particular mesh that you're looking for. But if you have a t-shirt that is Halloween themed and you just name it t-shirt 37, when somebody searches Halloween in the HUD, your Halloween t-shirt's never going to come up because you don't have Halloween as part of the name. So something to think about when you're looking at naming your textures. Okay? Please put the name of the mesh item that you are designing for, and consider adding, keywords, Halloween, Christmas, a color pattern option, something that distinguishes it so people can search for the things they're looking for in the HUD a bit easier. It's not required to put the mesh name in the texture name, but if you don't, you're probably going to get a message from one of the other CSRs or myself that says, we highly encourage you to do this. We spend an inordinate amount of time trying to help parents track down what mesh is being used. So help us and help the parents by naming your textures with the mesh in the name of the texture set. The category column is simply the column, it's the category that it's assigned to, so bottoms or hair or whatever. The object is the name of the mesh that you're using. Parents don't see this. Only you see this on the website. That's why we have to put the names in the texture name. And this happens to be a set of tights that I made to wear with undies. So the actual tights the actual mesh is the tights. This is the price. This is the whole price of the item. This is not the amount that you got paid. Zooby does take a commission on each thing sold in the texture HUD, so this is the price that the customer was charged. I'm going to show you what you got paid on another screen. Excuse me. I am going to go over these active and approved columns in just a moment, but that's a bit of a longer explanation, so let me finish these three and then I'll come back. The last edit column, this really is the last time that you made changes to the texture set, the number of times that it's sold, and then the locked column indicates whether or not it's sold. So you can see down here, my hat hair, winter cap bangs, hair only, Halloween black green has not sold anything. So there's a green dot here, it is unlocked, and it says 0 for the sales. If I open up this texture, and I'm going to right click and go open in a new link so that it opens up here instead of messing with my original screen here, you can see that I have the ability to change the name, the HUD display image. Every single field is open in order for me to be able to make changes to that. When it's locked, you don't have options to change certain things. So this one's locked. It says it's locked up here. I can't change the name. I can't change any of the display images or messages. And I can't change any of the texture keys. So remember, if you need to make a change to a texture that is locked, you need to contact a CSR, explain why and what you're changing, and then we can unlock that for you. When you're finished, make sure you tell us you're done so that we can lock it back again. Okay. The active and approved columns. When you're a brand new affiliate, these are like something you hyper focus on. When you first upload a texture set to the website, and after it's saved, when you look at your texture set screen, you should have 2 blue dots, blue and blue. That means, let me open this. In the texture set screen, that refers to this section. In preview mode, the dot is blue, and you can see it in the HUD, but nobody else can. I can't see it, parents can't see it, only you can see it. Preview mode is great for testing your textures, and you should be setting every texture that you upload to the website to preview and testing it in World before you set it to active. Okay? So setting it to preview here creates a blue dot right here. The approved column has to do with whether or not the CSRs have looked at or touched this texture before. So if this is blue, it's never been set for approval, and we're waiting for it to be set to active so that the CSRs can look at it. Okay? If, or when you're ready and you've tested your texture, you're going to come back into the texture set and you're going to set this to active. When you set it to active and click submit, then, and you see the screen just blinked, it doesn't give you any indication that it did anything, it just blinks. But when you come back into this screen and you click refresh, you can see now that my Whimsical Kids Toenails testing texture is set to active and it's waiting to be approved. Okay, this means it's in the CSR queue to be looked at by myself or another CSR. When we've looked at it and we've approved it, then the dots are going to change from green and blue to green and green. This means that your textures are approved and they are showing for sale in the HUD for everybody to see. Now, the other color of dots. If, and I'm going to put this back in preview mode because I don't want it in the CSR queue. Okay. Inactive means that it's not showing in the HUD at all. It's not showing for you. It's not showing for CSRs. Parents can't see it. It's like it doesn't exist in the HUD. Items get set to inactive either by yourself because you don't want to see it in the HUD and you don't want anybody else to see it, or a CSR has set it to inactive because there's a problem with it. So if that happens, you're going to see a red dot and a red dot. So this fingernail one is one that was not approved by the CSRs. When you set it to be inactive, it shows up red and blue. Okay, this I set to inactive in my own store just to show you what this looked like, but this one has not been approved. If you see two red dots, there's something wrong and you need to open up the texture set and look. So right click, open in a new tab. You can also single click. I just like to keep this window intact. It's just easier for me. And so when I come in here, down here, now this says this texture has been reviewed and placed on hold by staff, and we'll type some sort of a message. Now we only get 120 characters to leave you a message in here. So, you know, it may say display image incorrect or copyright infringement or whatever. A lot of times we may say see in-world message or see in-world note card because it's too extensive to explain in 120 characters. We will not always message you directly when there's a problem. If it's something as simple as there's, you know, your display image is incorrect or your item is in T-pose, we're just going to leave you a message on the website, and it is up to you as the affiliate to check your textures and see if you have anything set to denied so that you can fix that. Okay, so blue and blue is set to preview. Okay, set to preview. You can see it in the HUD. Green and blue, you set it to active as the status and you're waiting for a CSR to approve it. Green and green means that you set it to active and the CSR's approved it and it's for sale in the HUD. Red and red, you set it to active, but we denied it for whatever reason and you need to open up the texture set to see why. If you IM me or one of the other CSRs and say, hey, I noticed that one of my items got denied. Do you know why? My first question is going to be, did you open the texture set and read the message? We try to make it so that you guys have all the information at your fingertips. But if you open the message and you don't understand what's wrong with it, feel free to ask. Just make sure you check the message first so we have some idea of what you're dealing with. Okay, so that is the active and the approved column. All right, let's move over to the new text, to the new set screen. This is the link here. This is what we are talking about when we talk about uploading your textures to the website. Now, I'm a CSR and I've been an affiliate for a long time. You're going to see a lot of items in here. These are all items that I've purchased and have access to design for. Your screen is going to have two things on it to begin with because you have to purchase two kits to get through this process. So don't be surprised when this looks really small for you. And ignore the fact that there's 3 of these. I've obviously used these a lot when I've been teaching classes. The dev is aware that it's doing this to me. They just haven't gotten around to fixing it yet. So let's talk about how to upload texture sets to the website. So we're going to start with the sleeper. See, I use the sleeper a lot when I teach. I am going to right click on the sleeper and open link in a new tab. You can also left click on this and it'll change this screen. But again, I always right click and go to a new tab. That's just been part of my workflow for years. So let's come in here to the edit texture set screen and let's talk about what we need to have done up to this point. You need to have designed on your AO map, finalized it for your color, etc. You need to upload the AO map into Second Life. You need to have taken a picture of the item that you're working with, and then that picture needs to have been put on a display image in Photoshop or some other graphics program. The AO map and the display image both need to be uploaded to SL so that you have the UUIDs to go with it. So I've got some examples set up over here, so let's look at those. So for the sleeper, my display image looks like this, and my AO map looks like this. Now the sleeper is an example of a mesh that has one face. I have one face on the mesh. I have one AO map to work with. Okay, so let's upload this to the website and test it. So I'm going to come into my texture set here. I'm going to name this Whimsical Kids. I'm going to Sleeper. I'm going to name it Testing as my collection so I can find it easily. And we're going to do pink hearts because my sleeper is pink hearts. I'm going to go to Second Life. I'm going to click on this UUID button here. It's going to copy it into my clipboard. You can also right click on it over here and do Asset UUID. I tend to open mine up so I can make sure these two match and I'm clicking on the right ones. I'm going to go back into the set screen and I'm going to paste this in. That's Control V as in Victor. There is the option to do that optional display image. You don't have to. You can just paste your HUD display image in there, or you can even leave it blank. If you leave it blank, it's just going to make your HUD display image repeat itself. But if you paste it in, it actually makes it even a little bigger, and I kind of like it with both of them pasted in there. But you could do that optional image. So if you remember from session 1, in here, I talked about, let's go back to my Hope Lace collection because that one's got the good, this one has just, I didn't put anything in that optional field and it just made that one picture bigger. But on the sleeper, I did make an optional display image that included things like this is on a mannequin, there's wording on here, the name of the collection, my logo. Please make sure your logo is on your optional display image, guys. People need to be able to know who you are. This is part of your branding. So this is the optional display image, and it goes in the optional HUD detail image field here. Okay. The optional HUD detail message, this is where you can type in things like, often mine says things like, check out Whimsical Kids for matching items. You are limited to 100 characters. Prices, there are minimum prices for every mesh in the system. You can charge more than that if you want, but you cannot charge less. The system won't even let you save it if it's charged less. The next item down here, this is to restrict to key, meaning only sell to one person. You want to use this if you are creating a custom item for someone that you're not going to set for public sale. What you need to do is you need to come into Second Life and you need to get their avatar key. Where am I? I'm over here. So it's in their profile right underneath their name, this key. You can only put one key in each texture set. Pardon me, I need a drink quick. So if, let's say, you're a daycare provider and you create a t-shirt for all of your Zooby babies that come to you for daycare and you want them all to have the same t-shirt, if you have 6 parents, you would have to create 6 texture sets and put a unique UUID in here for the avatar you wanted to purchase it. And then only those 6 people can see it. Okay? But only 1 key per texture set. We already talked about the status option, but let me go through this again because this is an extremely important part of the process. I am newly uploading this texture to the website. I'm immediately going to set this to preview. And then I'm going to come down into the all sides UUID field and find my AO map, which is right here. Click UUID and paste it in. When this is all done, you can click submit. Notice the screen blinked, and that's all it's going to do again. And now, when I come into the texture HUD and I go into shop, let me get rid of my search here. I can see my brand new sleeper that I just uploaded right here at the top. If I click on the magnifying glass, I can see the bigger image. Did you notice when I was doing the Hope Lace one that it wasn't quite as big? Let me see if she did that here. Oh, she does. Well, let me just go back to Hope Lace. Okay, so I did not paste the display image HUD into the optional picture part. And this is what it looks like. Let's take a screenshot of this so that we can compare them. Okay? But if I get rid of this and I click on here, my computer is thinking. I can hear the fan working. There we go. All right, let's pull this up and show you the difference in the sizes. So see how there's not very much of a gray frame here? I pasted the HUD UUID, the display image UUID into the optional image field, and it looks like this. If you don't do that, then you just have a bigger gray screen here, a bigger gray field here. Okay, so it's not going to hurt anything if you don't put anything in that field. And by that field, I mean this optional HUD detail image field. If you leave this blank, it's going to show your HUD image, whoops, like this. If you do paste it in again, it's going to show it like this. All right. This is a great way for you to test your textures. You can see that your display image UUID is in the correct place. If you have an optional image, you can make sure that this is correct. And you can fake purchase this. What I mean by fake purchase is I'm going to click on it. Let me pull up local here so you can see it. Okay, so if I click on it and I click buy, it says Whimsical Kids admin detected, texture is now owned. So it did not charge me any Linden and it didn't charge me any Z credits. So if you want to design for your baby and never put it for sale for anybody else to see, you simply need to do the set it to preview and never set it to active. You can see it in the HUD and you can use it and nobody else can. It doesn't cost you anything to purchase it from the HUD, but you do need to test it. So after you purchase it from the HUD, then you can come in and do things like attach it to a baby or a mannequin and test and make sure that it's correct. This is where you're going to catch and make sure that all your UUIDs for the AO maps are in the correct place and things like that. We do expect that you have tested these textures in world before you set them for active. And we can tell when you don't. You know, let me show you what happens if I put the wrong UUID in. Let's go back into my texture set here and let's put the UUID for the AO map into the HUD image, and let's put the display image in the AO map field. I'm purposely messing this up. I'm going to switch into my wardrobe and go back into shop. So here I have obviously put the wrong UUID in for the display image, and the display image is trying to show on the mesh itself. This is why you need to set it to test, so that you can check issues like this. It happens. We've all made that mistake. We've all made the mistake of putting the wrong UUID in the wrong field, but you need to test it. If you're not testing it repeatedly, it's going to result in a warning. Don't skip steps. Parents get upset when they purchase something and it doesn't work correctly. It's your job to support your textures. It's not our job to catch every single little mistake you make. But if it happens rarely, don't worry about it. If it happens repeatedly, then it becomes a problem. So set it to preview, test your texture, make sure your optional display image is good, that it applies to a mannequin or a baby correctly. And then when that's all said and done, you simply come back into here, set it to active, and submit it. And now when I go into texture sets, you can see that my Whimsical Kids Sleeper Testing Pink Hearts is already approved because I'm a CSR and I'm on auto approval. So it will be blue here for you guys. For me, it's green. So you'll want to wait for this to say to be green and green for you. For you, it's going to be green and blue. Okay, so that is how you upload a texture set. It's how you upload a texture set for a mesh that has one face. We also have some meshes that have more than one face and more than one AO map. So let's look at those. A good example of that is the sweater and shirt. So here's my sweater and shirt. It has an AO map that has the sweater and shirt all combined on it, and then it has an AO map for the button. Here we go. Let me open up my display image too. So here's my display image. Okay, I've got them all opened up. Let's go in here and let's go into new sets again. Get rid of this extra one here, and I'm going to come down to tops and go to sweater and shirt, and let's create a new texture. So we're going to do Whimsical Kids sweater and shirt testing purple eggs. That was purple eggs, right? Yep, it was purple eggs. Okay, and we're going to do it again. We're going to fill all this at the top out. Notice that this was 120 minimum instead of 100 like the sleeper was. Don't forget to set it to preview to test. And then here you can see that we have many different fields to enter a UUID into. So we have a button. Let's go put the button in. So here's the UUID for the button. The rest of these are cuffs, collar, sleeves, and center shirt. These are all separate faces on the mesh itself, but Carrie has put all of the AO maps for those all onto one AO map for us. And so in this instance, we're just going to copy the UUID for this, and we're going to paste it into all of the fields. Yes, it's the same UUID. Yes, it's going on to multiple faces. It will be okay. That's the way this is supposed to work. So you're going to set it to, you'll set it to preview and then submit it. And then you're going to go into the texture HUD, you're going to fake purchase it and test it on your mannequin or your baby and make sure that you have all of the right UUIDs in all of the correct fields. If you're doing this for 5 different colors within your collection, then you're going to do this 5 different times. Okay, so that is one mesh, 2 AO maps with multiple faces. The last one that I'm going to talk about is the sandals. And we talked about this in session 1, part 1, where it has multiple faces, multiple AO maps, multiple fields. So let's open this up and let's look at what we've got. Let me get rid of my sweater here. I'm going to res out the sandal mesh so you can see it. It's super teeny tiny because our babies have itty bitty feet. There we go. All right, so here's my display image. Okay. Then we have an AO map called buckle, one called inside, one called sole, and one called strap. These are all separate faces on the mesh. So in part one, when I talked about making the inside and the outside of a mesh different textures, you can see here like my sole is one texture and this is another texture. And then my buckle is supposed to be green, but I just noticed that this is white. Anyway, let's go look at it from a texture set standpoint. So let me go back in, let me close this. I'm not going to save it. Let's go into shoes. I'm sorry if I make anybody sick. We're looking for the sandals. And we're going to fill out the top just like before. We're going to set it to preview so we can test. You're going to hear me say that a bazillion times, and that's because we can tell when you don't test, and it costs us hours of work to track that down. So please test your items. All right, so here we go. We have 4 fields, and I know I have 4 AO maps because we just opened them, right? So I know in this instance, you're going to notice that the names of the fields are different than the names of the AO maps. And so this can get a little tricky to kind of figure out. So let's go see what we've got. So we've got bottom, buckle, sole, and strap. Over here, we have inside, sole, strap, and buckle. So I'm going to start inputting UUIDs for ones that match. So buckle, let's do the buckle. I'm going to paste that into the buckle. Now, let's get rid of that because we already did it. Let's do straps because that one matches. Pretty safe that these two are the right fields. Let's get rid of that. Now, normally I would say that sole needs to go into sole and that inside would need to go into bottom. For the sandals, however, that's not the case. So this inside is the part of the shoe that touches the baby's foot. And you can see that because there's the shadow here, and I don't have that same shadow over here. I know that the AO map named inside is going to go into sole, and that the AO map called sole is going to go into bottom. Bottom is actually referring to this part down here. The only way I figured that out is that I colored the AO map 2 different colors and just stuck in UUIDs until I figured out which one belonged where. So in my Photoshop file, I came in and I changed, like this to green and this to red, and I just plugged the UUID maps in until I figured out which one was which. Sometimes that happens. I'd love to say that it was all named the same, but we've got like 300 and some odd items that you can design for the baby, so there's going to be some mistakes in the field names. So when in doubt, just play with it and test it. If you still can't figure it out, come ask one of the CSRs. If you ask one of the other CSRs, they may send you to me, but you can always ask me and I will always help you figure it out. So that is a mesh that has multiple faces, multiple individual AO maps, and the fields don't match your AO map names. But that's how you upload a texture set. So before I move on to the next link, I do want to do another plug for testing your items. Set it to preview, fake purchase it in the HUD, and apply it to a baby or a mannequin so that you know everything is in the correct spot. Now, let's go back to the main website page here. We are on the new set, and let's go into categories. The category link just gives you a pre-configured list of the categories of items that you've sold. In my particular instance, I have 776 accessory textures. Sales, I'm going to come back to. That's a longer explanation. Top sellers, this is a pre-configured list of the items that you have sold the most of. You can't change this, just like you can't change the category link. It's just kind of fun to look at. Otherwise, I don't do very much with it. This gross amount that you see here is the amount that the parent paid, or that parents have paid. It's not the total amount that you've been paid. This is before commission gets taken out. We already talked about mesh kits, and log out is obviously going to log you out. But let's go look at the sales tab. Excuse me. So in this tab, you are going to see the names and applicable data for every texture set you've sold, plus every texture set you've ever uploaded. So here you can see I have 18,464 textures uploaded. That looks like a ton, but keep in mind that every time you upload a texture to the website, it's going to put an entry in here that looks like this. So you can see the ID column, that's that internal database number. This is the date that it was uploaded, who uploaded it, in this case me and my key, the name of the texture that I uploaded, the paid column and the vendor and commission columns are always going to be 0, and the method is always going to say test, and the vendor pay date is always going to say pending, because you uploaded this to the website. This is the database's documentation for that. When you sell an item, it looks a bit different. You still have your ID number, you still have the date and time it was sold. It's going to give you the name of the buyer and their key, the name of the texture that they purchased, the total amount they paid, but then the vendor paid is how much you got paid, and the commission is the commission that Zooby took. And then the vendor pay date, this is the date that this 100 lindens hit your linden account. Okay, so let's look at the time difference between this. This was purchased on 9/25 at 21:12, but it did not come to me in my linden balance until 9/25 at 21:14. So that was a 2-minute delay. That's pretty normal. If you ever come in here and you have a purchase from a real person and it's not an upload from you and it says pending here, that's normal. You may just be looking at the website before it paid you or it updated. But if you come in here and it has said pending for more than 15-20 minutes, then let one of the CSRs know. Sometimes we just need to have the paybot restarted. 5-ish minutes can be pretty normal, especially during the holidays when everything is more active, but 15-20 minutes may indicate there's a problem, so let one of us know. You can also search these for different things. So like if I wanted to look at how many Halloween textures I had sold, I can put Halloween up here and submit. And I've sold 1,692 Halloween-based textures. If you remember from the very beginning when I was looking at my texture sets for just my Halloween items, I had like 276 textures total that I uploaded. So that means I've done about 1,400 sales in Halloween-related textures. You can also search by start date and end date. This is not as robust as I would like it to be. I don't use it very often because it's very difficult, and this change in pages I don't use very often either. There's also no way to export this data, so you can't export it into like Excel or run any statistics on it. I've been asking for that for years, but no, there is no way to do that. You would have to copy, and in my case, 34 pages of information into Excel if you wanted to do that yourself. Here, let's clear this. I do want to show you that you can order these columns by, buyer. Oop. Nope, can't do buyer. That must be on the other one. Let's try vendor pay date. I know they've been cleaning this up, so we may not have as much access to this. Let's go back into the texture set one, because I know the locked button works. Well, there we go, categories. So now all my accessories are at the top, objects now, and it reverses the to alphabetize it. So here it's got Z to A, and here is A to Z. You should also be able to, there we go. You should also be able to do it by active. So if you're wondering if you have anything that is not approved or denied, like see, here's that Whimsical Kids fingernails testing item that I purposely have denied so I can use it for class. But here's also ones that I have set to inactive myself. Okay, so if you just keep clicking on it, it's gonna order it based on, you know, reds at the top, blues at the top, greens at the top, etc. You could also like come into your, I'm in my texture sets screen. You could come in here and look at Halloween and submit it, and then order your columns by sales. So I'm going to click it a second time, and you can see my most popular selling Halloween item is a pair of black ankle socks, followed by a pair of orange ankle socks. So there's ways to get data out of this. It's just not as intuitive with an export. So that is the website. And then I would say in a nutshell, but this is going on a good hour long. Make sure when you are finished watching both Session 1, Part 1, and Part 2, that you then drop your application to me in Second Life. Make sure you have filled out all the information on the note card and followed all of the directions. If you have not heard from me in 2 weeks, please ping me again. If I'm uploading mesh, I've been crashing a lot lately, and I don't want to miss somebody dropping it to me just because I crashed. So thank you for watching. Happy designing. Good luck on getting approved. And if you have questions, feel free to contact me. I'm Sweet Delilah Eve, both in World and on Discord.